Hello and welcome to our channel. If you're new around here, our names are Mike and Heather, and we have traveled to 49 out of the 50, minus Hawaii, states in the United States in our 2013 Ford Transit Connect micro camper van that we kitted out ourselves about 2 years ago now.
After putting over 50,000 miles on the van, we are much more confident in giving a van tour and talking about the things that we built in the van and giving a better insight into how things actually work.
Side note, we didn't have any transmission issues the entire time, knock on wood. I know that that is a concern when you're buying this type of van, or at least one that I saw pop up a lot on the internet, but thankfully we have had no such bad luck. While we're in the cab area here, we'll do a quick rundown. Not much has changed up here, but just in case this is your first time ever seeing a 2013 Ford Transit Connect, this is what to expect in the cab area.
The cab area hasn't really had a whole lot of work done to it. We've added the extension off of the overhead shelving, which originally was just this plastic part.
We also have the Max Air Fan remote up here because as we're driving, sometimes we forget to turn off the Max Air Fan, so it's just handy to be able to press this on and off button and not have to crawl all the way to the back to be able to turn off the fan.
As a note for people who are on the taller side, I'm about 6'5". This is more than enough space for me. With the overhead shelving, I still have plenty of headroom clearance. When we designed the living space in the back, we made sure that the driver's seat could still push all the way back, so I have plenty of leg room while I'm driving. It's definitely something that if you're on the taller side, you don't need to shy away from. There's ways to work around height for sure. But we've added steering wheel covers, seat covers, tried to make the space more comfortable and really to utilize as many of the pockets. We have them loaded with different items just to maximize the space up here. We have a couple of knickknacks up on the dash. We have a cell phone mount that we use with a pop socket. We've tried a couple of different ones and this has been our favorite. It's the most basic and foolproof, so it's worked out great for us.
Something that's nice about this cab area that's different from the last time we showed off our van is that we have access to the jackery from the cab now. The jackery was originally directly behind this seat and we'd have to push it forward to be able to plug anything in, which made it hard when you're driving to want to plug things in. But now we have quick access to our jackery through the middle because we just flip-flopped where our batteries were from the side to where the jackery is. It'll all make sense in a moment when we show off our bench that has all the electrical in it, but I do want to note that because it's been a real game changer when we need to plug things in and we're driving.
On the outside of the van, we've made a lot of additions in different places. The hood at one point had a bra on because when we were going and getting ready for the Alaska Highway, we knew we were going to be dealing with a lot of kicked rocks. Since we've finished that, we've taken it off and are back to the stock view of the hood. As we start working our way back though, we start to see some of the additions that we've done. A basic one was just adding these rain covers. They were pretty easy. We bought them on Amazon and it's nice because it allows us to have some ventilation if the weather isn't fantastic. One of the big things that we've made as a change to the exterior of the van has been the side mirrors. The original mirrors mounted so that they would be this sort of standard side profile view that allowed you to see a wider angle but left the blind spot a little bit difficult to visualize. With this van not having any windows behind the driver's side or the passenger side or any rear view windows, the sight lines are a little bit wonky, so we wanted to explore options to make that better. We ended up finding mirrors that are oriented up and down and we ordered them from a place in Britain off of eBay. The sight lines are better and you feel more confident being able to switch lanes with the sight lines that this provides and the view of your blind spot. One of the best things about this van in particular was the roof rack that came when we bought it. We get a ton of questions about it and to be honest, we don't have an exact answer of where it came from. We've tried to do some research to match it as close as we could and we have provided those links and we'll include that in the bottom. But the roof rack has been absolutely amazing and we've mounted a bunch of different features onto it. One of those being an awning, a nice thing to have that we're able to break out on days like today or the opposite of days like today where it's really rainy. So if it's super bright out or if it is raining, we can extend the awning out and be able to relax outside in the shade or away from the rain. Beyond the awning, on top of the roof rack, we've mounted two 100-watt solar panels. And the last thing that we have mounted to the roof rack is our Yakima road shower. So we have our Yakima road shower mounted up on the top back here. We have a hose that we're able to use because It is a nice shower head. This has worked perfectly for us and provides a little bit more utility across the board. Additionally, we do have two different sets of tires for the van. We have our winter tires, which is what is on now. Have to switch those coming up, but we are potentially getting snow next week, so we'll leave those on. And we also have a fifth wheel that is the spare under the van, and that has come in handy. It's a full-size tire and not a donut or anything like that, so we're able to continue on in the event of having a flat, which did actually happen to us on Route 66. So we try to be prepared there, and it's worked out really well for us so far.
Before we jump into the inside and talk about our electrical and the build itself, there's just two more things that we need to go over from the outside. One of them being our shore power. So there is a plug that we can use when we are at campsites or any of the accommodations where we might be able to have electricity that's provided. We have an extension cord inside that just plugs right into our shore power. We keep an extension cord inside our van to be able to plug in at those type of campsites. Another electrical component that I want to mention while we're on the outside here is a little port where we're able to hook up a light and have some light outside when it's getting dark without having to rely on flashlights or lanterns, which take up space. We store a light bulb in there that's made especially for that little port so we can have light outside on those dark nights. But now we can move on to our actual electrical system. To be honest, this door doesn't open much because it does have access to our electrical system. We really only keep some things that we don't touch too much back here. So some things might fall out. We'll open it slowly. Not too bad this time. So one of the many things that we keep here is our foldable, what do you call this, stool?
Yeah, footstool.
Yeah, so that way if we ever need to, not that we ever did, but to be able to get up to the top of our roof rack to check out the solar panels, wipe them off, clean them, and then also all of our reflectix for our windows. So I'm just gonna toss those to the side. This is kind of the garage area. On the roof we have two 100-watt solar panels that feed to two 6-volt batteries in the bench that we'll show you in just a moment. And from those batteries we have the inverter. So this inverter allows us to be able to plug in household plugs in here, so you don't need the special 12-volt car plug. You can just plug in any normal household item plug into the inverter here. We also have a little monitor that lets you know how charged your solar batteries are, so that way you can keep an eye on it and make sure you go park in the sun if you start getting low. Also back here we have our Noco boost for if and when, rather, our car battery dies because we forget to turn the headlights off. We have that extension cord that I mentioned a moment ago, and we also have our air compressor back here. You can also see the back of our safe from here, so it's a really small cubby area from the back side. Perfect for being able to shove some of the miscellaneous things that we don't use very much and house our electrical system. The interior of our van is set up as a bench bed design. We both do work remotely, so it was very important that we have a bench back here and not just a bed. So this is what that mess from the garage looks like from the front. Not too bad. We have a giant pillow that holds our sleeping bag. Now this is our cold weather sleeping bag, so we don't necessarily have this all the time, but we did just come back from Michigan and North Dakota when it was freezing out, so we definitely needed to take our big sleeping bag. But during the summer months we usually travel with a much smaller pillow and much less bedding because it gets quite toasty, so all you really need is a couple sheets, one to throw down, one to sleep with, and you're good to go. But we'll move the giant pillow out of the way to be able to see more of what's going on here. Our heating blanket, which again, this we wouldn't be traveling with during the summer and the warm months, and our electronics backpack that fits perfectly in this little cubby space. Now that we've removed the pillow, the backpack, and the blanket that usually sits in this corner, we can pop off this cushion and access our electrical area. In the bench we have those two 6-volt batteries that I mentioned. Now if for whatever reason we don't get a lot of solar power, which has only happened a handful of times because we're very conscious about making sure that we're parking in the sun when we can, which is kind of the opposite that you do with your normal car because you don't want your normal car to heat up, but when you have solar on the roof you always want to make sure that you're parking in the sun. All that to say is that we do also have a Jackery, which is essentially just a very large portable battery, almost kind of like a generator. So when we don't have enough solar to run, we do have a backup option for power. We just charge it when we're driving and it works perfectly for us. But the refrigerator, lights, fan, everything that's essential, we kind of run off of our solar, and then when we need to charge stuff, we either use the inverter or the Jackery. Behind the corner where we keep our pillow and our blanket and our backpack, we also have several hooks up here. I said it before and I'll say it again and again and again. Hooks are your number one friend when you're building out a van. We have hooks that line all around our van, but they are very, very important for anything that's loose. So we even use the top portion of this corner as a catch-all. We have our camping pillows which fold down. We have 2 neck pillows that we put underneath the camping pillow when we sleep, so that way it has a little bit more padding. We have our headlamps, our portable speaker, eye masks. Essentially anything that has a loop that we could hang off the hooks, we do, because by hanging them we have a lot more storage in our overhead shelf and in our cabinet and underneath our bed. So hooks are definitely a must in any van build. Also in this corner, again we saw it a little bit from the back, is where we shove our reflectix so that it's nice and easy to grab for when we have to put it up front. While we're on the topic of storage, we'll show you the overhead shelf. So the van did come with an overhead shelf, we just extended it. You can see where the original overhead shelf was, which was that plastic. We added an entire board to add a lot more space above here, which works perfect for holding our clothing and storing other miscellaneous things that we accumulate along the way. Basically, we just stuff a lot of things up here. But right now it has all of our packing cubes for clothes, and you can see that there's still a lot of space up here for shoving other things. We even have a tent all the way back there, and some camping poles, so you can really fit a lot up here. Not only did we gain a lot of space by extending that overhead shelf, we also have a lot of storage in this cabinet as well as under the bed. Again, we do work remotely, so it was very important that the storage also functioned as a little desk. But it's really nice because it allows us to have a designated space to be able to work from the back of our van. To the right of the slide out desk is our water system. So we do have an electric pump that pulls water from a water jug underneath our cabinet. And we also have a pop-up sink. Now we don't really use the sink basin very much, but I will say that I am happy to have it in the few times that we did need it. A lot of the time we just wash our dishes outside, or a lot of the campsites actually have a designated area where they have sinks to wash, but it's definitely nice having that option for if you're in a pinch and you do need to be a little bit incognito, you can rinse some things, then just dump the water responsibly after. And we do use all biodegradable soap when we do our dishes, or dump any type of water. The sink also, because it extends off the cabinet, when it's open like that, it gives us a lot more counter space. So a lot of the times we'll have a laptop set up there to be able to watch TV from our bed when it is in bed mode as well. So not only does it add functionality as a sink, it also gives us a little bit of extra counter space to be able to utilize as well. Inside that cabinet, we have it sectioned off because not only is storage key, but organization is key. So each thing has a place and that's where it always goes. For example, our portable camp stove always sits here. Usually in here is tucked with a bunch of food, so food storage usually goes there, here, and kind of just gets crammed in this general area as well. To our right is all of our dishes, our camp dishes, our plates, collapsible tea kettle, cups, utensils. Above the stove we also have some drawers that pull out with miscellaneous things like scissors, camping spoons. This one has more of the office supplies, so we have tape, Sharpies, pens and pencils. This is the big jug that the water feeds through, so you can see the tube here. So this tube connects to that and dispenses water. That was a must for us, having an easy way to dispense the water instead of pulling out the big jug, making a mess, or having to switch back into bench mode just to get water. It was an absolute must to be able to just have a simpler way to get water, and I will say that that was a real game changer. And that's our air fryer, which we probably used more than our stove. Honestly, this is looking really bare right now because we're not currently on the road. It usually looks a lot more stuffed. Above the desk we have, I guess, a little memento area. This is where we put things that we've gathered when we're traveling, and then a little mirror. And right below the mirror is where I keep my toiletry bag. This is often stuffed with like hairbrushes, basically quick grab things that we want to have and that's not stored away. Same thing with the door here, a lot more storage. We originally didn't have this in our camper van build, but this has been a real game changer as well, just to be able to have quick and grab and go storage and not have to dig around for things that you need. For example, this is where we store some medicine. We do have a larger first aid kit underneath the bed, but if it's in bed mode, you can't really get to things really easily underneath the bed, so it comes in handy to have things stored here. We usually have baby wipes, my makeup wipes are still in this area, and other miscellaneous things including flashlights, bear spray. We always have a lot of bear spray around, but I'm happy to say that we've never needed it. The last big area of storage that we have is underneath the bed. We first have our safe that stores all of our electronics. Honestly, more than anything, it just gives us a peace of mind for when we do leave the van and are out exploring, that our laptops, our camera gear, our Switch, all of our very expensive electronics aren't gonna get stolen, or at least they're gonna have to go through a lot more effort to steal the stuff than they probably were hoping. It gives us peace of mind, and equally as importantly, a spot to be able to store all of our electronics so that way it isn't just all over the van. And then right next to the safe is a bin. Basically, it's our junk drawer. It's where we keep a little bit of everything. So it not only has all of our favorite board games that we love to play on the road, it has our laundry supplies, it has a portable hair dryer for when it is a little bit cold out and I don't want to sleep with wet hair. On top of that bin sits our portable toilet. Our van does not have a bathroom. Most of the time, the majority of the time, we just use public bathrooms, whether it's at gas stations, stores, or honestly campsites. But for any emergency situations, we do have a pop-up toilet. We do have bathroom supplies just in case of emergencies, so that pop-up toilet we've thankfully never had to use, but we have had to break the pee urinal out. This particular portable urinal has a applicator for anybody who has to sit down to pee to be able to go, and then once you're done going, you cleanse this, and then you can put a cap in it until you can dump it safely in a toilet, porta potty, anything like that. So this, it's clean right now. But this has probably been one of my favorite things that we've bought for the van, because when you're in the middle of the night or sleeping in a Cracker Barrel parking lot or a Walmart because nothing's open 24/7 anymore and you need to go to the bathroom, definitely comes in handy. And then underneath the bench going this way is honestly too many tools. We were a tad bit over prepared on the tools. We just really wanted to bring a lot with us in case anything went wrong. So in there we have things like a glue gun to be able to patch up some of the fabric that might rip away, all the way up to tools like a drill. So if anything broke, we were able to repair it. And then last but not least are our portable chairs at the end, which act as a buffer so nothing slides out. And now that we've talked at length about all of the storage in our van, we're gonna show you how the bed itself actually works.
One of the things that we always knew was we wanted the space in the back to be multi-use. So we designed a bed that can be both bench and bed without too much work to get them from one to the other. We ended up going with a fairly standard sliding slat type bed where we would just be able to pull it out, move the cushions around, and have a bed surface. So it's really not much more difficult than pulling the rails out, sliding the cushion over, and moving the backrest down and in. As you can see, being on the taller side at 6'5" and having a 6-foot long space in the back, it wasn't the best, so we ended up adding a bed extension, which has really changed the comfort level in the back and is something I definitely recommend. With the passenger seat pushed forward, we just flip up these two rails and we're able to get an additional about 10 or so inches of space on the bed. We have a more in-depth look at the bed as a whole in a different video that we'll link in the description below, but adding the extension in, which really wasn't that difficult to do, made this a much more comfortable living situation and allowed us to spend months at a time in the van.
If you're under 6 foot, the first bed option is totally fine. But if you're over 6 foot or sharing a bed with somebody over 6 foot, they're gonna take up the space because they're gonna lay diagonal. So by adding the bed extension, you both can lay straight.
Yes.
This is the setup that we had as we were traveling to all 49 out of the 50 states. Really wish we could have said 50, but there was just no way we were getting our van over to Hawaii. We did make it to Hawaii, but we were rolling around in Appa's Hawaiian cousin.
There are a lot of benefits to a van this size, and for the way that we wanted to travel, it worked perfectly, and I couldn't imagine doing the things that we did over the last 2 years in any other type of vehicle. This van, in all honesty, is not much bigger than a normal vehicle, and because of that, we're able to be inconspicuous in places on the side of the road, as well as staying in parking lots overnight without having to worry about it.
For our van and vans this size, the micro camper vans, we like to say that it's like a tent on wheels. So it has the bare necessities of everything you need. It gives you a comfortable spot and a place to be able to move affordably and
keep all your stuff in.
Yeah, and then the Sprinter vans, the Ram Pro Masters, those larger vans, the more expensive vans, are kind of like a cabin on wheels. So you get a little bit more amenities. You might have a bathroom, but not that much more of the actual living space. And then the RVs are like the hotel rooms. So hopefully that analogy kind of gives you a little bit of a breakdown and will help you understand if you're wanting to be in a van this size, it's going to be at that level of kind of like tent camping, just a lot nicer.
We do have another van tour that we did very shortly after completing the build, so if there was anything that we may have rushed over, we probably covered it more in depth at that point, as well as how much we paid for the van, how many miles were on it when we first started. So that one has some additional information and thoughts of the recent build as opposed to how things have held up and done over the course of traveling to 49 states.
Yeah. So if you're wanting to see a little bit more in-depth tour of our van, go check out that video because we go into a lot more detail of the nitty-gritties of this van. That being said, we have a lot more videos coming out centered around our van in the near future. We're gonna go through everything that's in our van, so if you saw something and you're like, hey, what is that? Or what do you actually keep in that area? We're gonna go through all of that. We're gonna give you all of the dimensions of everything in our van because that's a very popular question of what is the size of
the width,
everything.
Yes. So we will come out with a couple of tape measures and we will just go through everything.
Yeah.
Anything that has a measurable surface, we will do our best to get dimensions for it and have that ready to go because that has been a question we've got a ton of times. And just our thoughts as a whole on how traveling to 50 states in a micro camper van
49.
went. 49. We traveled to 50.
Yeah.
See, it's such a weird distinction that we always have to make. We hope you'll stick around. We hope you've enjoyed this video.
Thank you all for watching. We
Yes.
really do appreciate it. See you on the next one.
I'm living my best life. I wake up.